everybody! So today we are going to work on putting our brainstorming that we did yesterday with our story that had the beginning, middle, and end into a story, and we're just going to focus on the beginning today. So before we do that, I actually have some books that we have read already in the past, and I wanted to look at what their beginnings looked like and how the authors started those stories. So the first one I have here is Wallace's Lists. Let's look at how the author began this story. This is just going to help us get some ideas for different ways that you can begin books, and actually you don't have to begin your story the way any of these do, but it'll give you an idea. Okay, so this story starts by saying, Wallace, a mouse, could do almost anything. Anything, that is, as long as he had a list. He kept a list of all of the clothes in his closet. That way he could get dressed in the dark and everything would match. Wallace had lists of pets he would like, stories he loved, and exciting weather such as a thunderstorm, hailstorms, and blizzards. So the beginning of this story just kind of introduces Wallace and tells a little bit about him. The tricky thing with all of these books that we're looking at, all of the books that I'm showing you are fictional stories that are made up, and so their beginnings may be a little different than a personal narrative about something that happened in your life. So we can look at how fictional stories begin, but I'm also going to give you some ideas of ways to start a personal narrative too. Okay, so it just kind of introduces Wallace in the beginning of this story. I have Chester's Way here. Chester's Way begins by saying, Hello, my name is Chester. I like croquet and peanut butter and making my bed. And it says Chester had his own way of doing things. So again, this fictional story sounds like it's introducing Chester. And then remember, on the next few pages, it tells all of the things that Chester likes to do and how he's very particular about those things. So again, another story introducing Chester. Or a character. That one introduced Chester. I have the Magic Rabbit also. Let's see what the beginning of that story looks like. Ray and Bunny lived together in a tiny apartment in the city. They were business partners. Ray was a magician and Bunny was his loyal assistant. Imagine that. Another beginning that's a fictional, this is a fictional story, and this beginning again is introducing the characters and a little bit about them. So if you're writing a story that's made up, you may want to start your beginning by introducing your characters. Our stories, if you're doing a story like me, that's about your life, a personal narrative, is a little bit different because you're not really introducing the characters since it's about your life. So I'm going to show you ways that you can begin your story being a personal narrative. I didn't really have any examples of personal narratives to show you because so far all of the stories we've read have been fiction. So we're just going to get some ideas from what I show you. Okay. So when you begin a personal narrative, you can begin it by kind of describing what type of day it was. My story happened on a sunny day, so I may begin my story by saying, one hot sunny day in Hawaii. Or if yours was like on a cold night, you could say, one cold windy night. If it was something that happened on a snowy day, one cozy snowy day. You just kind of can begin it by telling, like, describing what the day was like. That's always a good way that I like to start my narratives. So let me show you how I'm going to begin mine. And your beginning is always really important because the beginning is the first thing that whoever's reading your story is going to read. And so if you have a really interesting, catchy beginning, it makes people want to continue reading your story. If it's kind of a boring beginning, they're like, this one doesn't sound good, I'm going to read something else. So you want to make a beginning for your story that really draws people in and makes them want to keep reading more. Okay, so remember from my brainstorming, and I'm only focused on the beginning today. In the beginning, we got in the boat and we're riding out to the bay. Let me just tell you, in this writing, when we're writing beginning, middle, and end stories, the beginning is always going to be fairly short. The middle is going to be what's the longest part of your story because the middle of books is where all of the action takes place. It's really where most of the story happens. The beginning is just the like introduction, and then the ending is what kind of wraps up the story, and maybe the problem is solved there, or it's just kind of a way to tie it all together. So your beginning is going to be pretty short, and your ending is going to be pretty short. It's the middle that's going to probably be the longest part of your story. So today, doing the beginning is not going to take probably very much time. Okay, so I'm going to write about how we decided to go parasailing and got in the boat to head out there, because that's what my beginning's about. I'm going to start it by saying kind of what I told y'all. It wasn't really a hot day. Hawaii doesn't get like super hot, or at least it didn't when we were there. I'm going to say warm. One warm, sunny day in Hawaii. That way I can get whoever is reading this story a really good picture in their head of where we're at. We're at a warm place. We're in Hawaii. Hawaii's known for like the ocean and the beaches. So by reading the state name, they kind of can get an idea of what my story, or like a picture of the day that my story takes place in. One warm sunny day in Hawaii, my aunt and I decided to go parasailing. Ugh. I'm not exactly sure how to spell parasailing. Okay. I'm going to try my best, and I'll just underline it and move on. That way, later on I can check it and come back. So, I'm going to guess that it may be like this. I-N-G. I don't know for sure, so I'm going to underline it, and then I can come back later and check it. Ask an adult in your case to help you, but right now I'm not worried about spelling. We're just drafting it and getting it on paper. One warm sunny day in Hawaii, my aunt and I decided to go parasailing. We got on the boat and headed out into the bay. Okay? Does this tell what happened at the beginning of my story? We decided to go parasailing and we headed out in the boat. Was that what I had planned? Yes. So my beginning is done. Like I told you, the beginning is not super long. It just kind of introduces what the story will be about and kind of helps set the scene. So, one warm sunny day in Hawaii, my aunt and I decided to go parasailing. We got on the boat and headed out into the bay. All right, that's my beginning. So tomorrow I'm going to add on the middle, which will be longer because the middle is where all of the action takes place and really the whole story is pretty much told. The beginning just sets the scene and the ending just wraps it up, but the middle is like the meat of the story, okay? So today you are going to be thinking about your beginning that you planned yesterday, and you're going to start writing, but only the beginning of your story. You want to make it really good by setting the scene and really giving people that are reading your story a good picture in their head of what it's about. So I use the words like one warm sunny day in Hawaii. That way whoever's reading my story can picture a warm sunny day at the beach in Hawaii. Okay? So think about how you can make your beginning of your story really good, and you're going to write it today and then show me what you have so far when you're done, and tomorrow we'll work on the middle. See you then.